The salt sting of my own tears was the first thing I tasted, not the rain that was supposed to be falling but wasn't. It was the taste of betrayal, thick and metallic, like the blood I imagined pooling beneath my shattered resolve. "He's marrying her," my sister Maya had whispered, her voice a cruel caress against the roaring silence in my head. "Not getting married, not engaged, but marrying." As if it were a done deal, a contract signed in invisible ink, a future sealed with a kiss I'd never get to taste. Liam, with his freckled nose and eyes the color of a storm-bruised sea, Liam, who'd held my hand beneath the bleachers, his thumb tracing the lines on my palm like he was reading a map to a hidden treasure. Liam, who'd promised forever in the soft glow of the bonfire, was marrying someone else. Her. A girl with long blonde hair and a laugh that sounded like wind chimes, a girl I'd seen him looking at, a girl I'd dismissed as a passing fancy, a girl who was apparently my replacement. I remember the way the world seemed to tilt, the ground rushing up to meet me, but I didn't fall. I stood there, a statue carved from grief, the words echoing in my ears, a death knell tolling the end of something that hadn't even truly begun. Then a flicker of something, a spark igniting in the ashes of my heart, a defiance that burned brighter than the pain. If forever was going to be stolen from me, then I was going to steal a moment back. I was going to steal a kiss, a memory, a single defiant act of rebellion against the cruel twist of fate. I remember thinking not in words, but in a raw, primal surge of emotion that I would kiss him, and in that stolen moment I would prove that forever wasn't his to give away. That forever was a choice, a battle, a war waged in the heart, and I was ready to fight. I'd always thought forever was a concept, a dream, a promise. But in that moment, staring at the empty space where my future should have been, I realized it was a battlefield, a battle for the right to love, to be loved, to exist as I was. A battle that was about to begin, starting with a kiss that would change everything, a kiss that was a declaration, a challenge, a beginning I never expected. And in the back of my mind, a whisper of a thought, a chilling realization that perhaps, just perhaps, this her was not a simple her at all, but a catalyst, a dark mirror reflecting a truth I was too scared to see, a truth that would make that kiss not a goodbye but a weapon. A weapon I was about to wield, knowing that the day I kissed him would indeed be the start of my forever, but not the forever I'd always imagined. The church bells, usually a sound of celebration, tolled like a funeral dirge as I walked towards the back garden where the reception was being held. The air was thick with the scent of lilies and something else, something cloying and sweet like the lies I'd been fed. I could see Liam standing beneath a canopy of fairy lights, his back to me, his shoulders rigid. He was talking to her, her blonde hair shimmering in the soft light, her hand resting on his arm. It was a picture-perfect scene, the kind that belonged in a magazine, not in my reality. I felt a surge of rage, hot and sharp, like a shard of glass lodged in my throat. I wanted to scream, to shatter the illusion of happiness they had so carefully constructed. But I didn't. Instead, I took a deep breath, the scent of lilies filling my lungs, and I walked towards them, my footsteps silent on the manicured lawn. The closer I got, the clearer the picture became. Her smile, bright and genuine, and Liam's, strained and tight, like a mask he was struggling to keep in place. And then I saw it, the flicker of something in his eyes, a shadow that didn't belong, a hint of desperation that sent a shiver down my spine. It wasn't love I saw, but a kind of resigned acceptance, like a prisoner being led to the gallows. That's when I knew, with a certainty that settled deep in my bones, that this wasn't his choice. This was a performance, a charade, a twisted play being acted out for an audience I couldn't see. A realization that flipped the script entirely, that the her was not the villain of my story, but a pawn, a captive just like he was. The kiss, the act of rebellion, became something else, a rescue mission, a declaration of war against an unseen enemy. I reached them, my voice cutting through the polite chatter like a knife. "Liam," I said, my voice steady, my eyes locked on his. He turned, his eyes widening in surprise, then hardening into a mask of polite indifference. But I saw the flicker of recognition, the desperate plea hidden beneath the surface. I looked at her, and for the first time I saw not a rival but a reflection, a mirror image of the fear I felt. And then I did it. I stepped forward, ignoring the gasps and the whispers, and I kissed him. Not a soft, tender kiss, but a fierce, desperate one, a kiss that tasted of salt and defiance, a kiss that was a promise and a threat. A kiss that said, "I see you, I know your secret, and I'm not going to let you go." And in that moment, as his lips met mine, I felt a jolt, a surge of energy that wasn't just passion, but something else, something dark and powerful, like a current running beneath the surface. A current that told me that this forever was not just about love, but about something far more sinister, and that the kiss was not just a start, but an activation. An activation of a force that had been dormant, a force that was now wide awake. A force that made me realize that the day I kissed him was the day I stepped into a game I didn't understand, a game where the stakes were higher than I could ever imagine. The shockwave of the kiss rippled through the garden, a silent explosion that shattered the carefully constructed facade of the wedding. Gasps and whispers erupted, a cacophony of confusion and judgment. Her eyes, wide and terrified, darted between Liam and me, her perfect composure crumbling like dry clay. Liam, his face a mask of stunned disbelief, pulled away, his eyes searching mine, a silent question hanging in the air. But I didn't give him answers. I couldn't. The energy that had surged through me during the kiss was still thrumming in my veins, a dark, electric hum that made my skin tingle. It wasn't just the adrenaline of the moment, it was something else, something deeper, something that felt ancient and powerful. The fairy lights flickered, casting long, distorted shadows that danced across the faces of the guests, turning them into grotesque caricatures. The air grew heavy, thick with an unspoken tension, a sense of something lurking beneath the surface. I looked at her again, and this time I saw not fear but a flicker of recognition, a spark of understanding that mirrored the dawning horror in my own heart. She wasn't just a pawn, she was a witness, a prisoner in a gilded cage, just like Liam. And then I saw it, the mark, a faint, almost invisible symbol etched into the delicate skin of her wrist, a symbol that pulsed with the same dark energy that was now coursing through me. It was a symbol I recognized, a symbol from the old stories, the whispered legends of the shadowed ones, the beings who walked between worlds, who fed on emotions, who bound souls to their will. The realization hit me like a physical blow. Liam wasn't marrying her, he was being bound to her, his soul tethered to hers, their lives intertwined in a twisted, unnatural union. The forever he'd promised wasn't a promise of love, but a sentence, a life of servitude to something far more sinister than I could have imagined. My kiss, the act of defiance, had not only disrupted the ceremony, but it had also broken the seal, activated the mark, and drawn the attention of the shadowed ones. The ground beneath my feet seemed to tremble, the fairy lights flickered and died, plunging the garden into darkness. A cold wind swept through the trees, carrying the sound of whispers, voices that were not human, voices that spoke in a language I didn't understand but felt deep in my bones. I knew then with a chilling certainty that I had stepped into a world I didn't belong in, a world where love was a weapon and forever was a curse. And the kiss, the single act of rebellion, had not only started my forever, but it also ignited a war against beings that lived in the shadows. And that the her was not a person at all, but a vessel, a conduit for the shadowed ones, and that by kissing Liam I had just become one as well. A terrifying realization that had me choking on my own breath, that I was now bound to the same fate, the same twisted forever. The darkness deepened, the whispers intensifying, swirling around us like a suffocating shroud. I felt a cold dread seep into my bones, a primal fear that made my heart pound against my ribs like a trapped bird. Liam, his face pale and drawn, reached for my hand, his touch sending a jolt of icy energy through my veins. "You shouldn't have done that," he whispered, his voice hoarse, his eyes filled with a desperate plea. "They'll come for you now. They, the shadowed ones, the beings that controlled the mark, that dictated the terms of this twisted forever." Her, the vessel, stood motionless, her eyes glowing with an unnatural light, her face a mask of serene malevolence. The beautiful bride was gone, replaced by something ancient and terrifying. The garden, once a place of celebration, had transformed into a battleground, a stage for a drama that had been playing out for centuries. The guests, oblivious to the true nature of the events unfolding around them, began to panic, their voices rising in a chorus of fear and confusion. The air crackled with unseen energy, the shadows deepening, solidifying into tangible forms. I saw them then, the shadowed ones, their forms shifting and swirling in the darkness, their eyes glowing like embers in the night. They were drawn to the mark, to the energy that pulsed between Liam, her, and now me. The kiss, the act of defiance, had not only broken the seal, but it also acted as a beacon, a signal that had summoned them from the depths of their shadowy realm. The whispers turned into a chorus of guttural chants, a language that vibrated deep within my soul, a language that spoke of ancient pacts and forgotten rituals. Liam's grip tightened on my hand, his touch now a lifeline in the encroaching darkness. "We have to go," he said, his voice urgent, his eyes filled with a desperate resolve. "They won't let us leave." We turned to run, but the shadows were faster, closing in around us, their forms solidifying into grotesque shapes, their eyes burning with predatory hunger. The garden, once a symbol of love and celebration, had become a trap, a cage built of fear and darkness. The realization hit me then with a sickening lurch that the forever I had inadvertently stepped into was not just a metaphor, but a literal, inescapable reality. The kiss, the act of rebellion, had not just started my forever, but had also sealed my fate, binding me to Liam and her, to the shadowed ones, to a destiny I couldn't comprehend. The her was not a single entity, but a collective consciousness, a hive mind that controlled the vessel, and through her, Liam, and now me. We were now linked, a twisted trinity bound by the mark, by the kiss, by a forever that was not love but servitude. The ground beneath our feet began to crack, the earth itself groaning under the weight of the ancient power that had been unleashed. The shadows were closing in, their whispers echoing in my mind, promising a forever of darkness, a forever of servitude, a forever that was just beginning. The world dissolved into a swirling vortex of shadows and whispers, the garden vanishing as if it had never existed. We were no longer in a place of celebration, but in a realm of pure darkness, a place where the shadowed ones held dominion. The ground beneath us shifted and pulsed, a living, breathing entity that throbbed with the same dark energy that coursed through my veins. Liam's grip on my hand was the only anchor I had, the only connection to the fading remnants of my reality. Her form, now a vessel for the collective consciousness of the shadowed ones, loomed before us, her eyes glowing with an ancient, malevolent light. The whispers intensified, forming coherent words, a language that spoke of pacts and bindings, of souls claimed and destinies rewritten. They spoke of the mark, the symbol etched into our skin, a brand that bound us to their will, a key that unlocked the doors to their realm. They spoke of the kiss, the act of defiance that had not only broken the seal but had also completed the ritual, binding our souls to theirs for eternity. The realization crashed over me, a wave of icy terror that threatened to drown me in its depths. The forever they spoke of was not a future but a prison, an endless cycle of servitude in their shadowy realm. The her was not a person but a gate, a conduit through which they could access our world, and now through the kiss we were gates as well. We were now the anchors, the points of entry, the vessels for their dark influence. And the love, the connection, the spark I felt for Liam was not a bond of affection but a tether, a chain forged in darkness, binding us together in their twisted game. The shadows swirled around us, their forms solidifying into grotesque figures, their eyes burning with predatory hunger. They reached for us, their touch cold and clammy, promising a forever of darkness, a forever of servitude. Liam pulled me close, his body shielding mine, his eyes filled with a desperate resolve. "We have to break the mark," he whispered, his voice hoarse, his breath hot against my ear. "It's the only way to escape." But the mark, the symbol etched into our skin, pulsed with the same dark energy that fueled their realm, a constant reminder of our servitude. And then I understood. The kiss, the act of defiance, was not just a beginning but a catalyst, a trigger that had activated the mark, binding us to their will. But it was also the key. The kiss, the act of love, however twisted, was the only thing that could break the mark, sever the connection, and shatter the chains that bound us to their realm. The day I kissed him was the start of my forever, but not the forever they intended. It was the start of a war, a battle fought with love and defiance, a battle to reclaim our souls, to rewrite our destinies, to break the chains of their twisted forever. And the her, the vessel, was not the enemy, but a reflection, a mirror of our own trapped souls, a reminder that forever, even in darkness, was ours to define, ours to break, and ours to reclaim. The kiss was not a beginning of their forever, but the beginning of the end of it.